Hello everyone, welcome to the Cinema Analysis channel. I am Juzo. This channel will explore the hidden truths of films that are not usually revealed. Today I'd like to talk about The Killer, directed by John Woo. I will talk about why this film shocks the world. If you haven't seen the film, I suggest you watch it first. If possible, it would be a good idea to also watch A Better Tomorrow and its sequel, A Better Tomorrow 2. So let's get started. So did you see The Killer? John Woo made his debut as a film director with The Young Dragons in 1973. He continued making films afterward, but it was with A Better Tomorrow in 1986 that he created a new genre called Hong Kong Noir, and significantly raised his international profile. One of John Woo's trademarks is the use of slow motion footage. Of course, there were directors who had used slow motion extensively before him, Sam Peckinpah being one of the most notable. Woo has acknowledged Peckinpah's influence on his own style. Interestingly, the first slow motion scene in A Better Tomorrow is not an action scene. Look at the moment just before the midpoint, when Mark, played by Chow Yun-fat, takes revenge on the traitors. While playing with a woman in a restaurant, Mark hides two guns in two separate potted plants. This moment is shown in slow motion. In contrast, the mafia members he plans to attack are shown at normal speed. Yun-fat smiles at the woman in slow motion, then his expression subtly shifts to a cold, determined one. The door to the room where the mafia members are partying opens in slow motion and Yun-fat begins firing. At this point, Woo skillfully alternates between slow motion and real-time footage, creating a mesmerizing rhythm that draws the viewer in as if under a spell. Mark fires all the bullets in his gun at the enemies in the room, sparing only the woman, then discards the empty weapon and leaves. He retrieves another gun from the potted plant and takes down the enemies chasing him as well as those rushing in from outside. However, one surviving enemy emerges and shoots Mark in the leg. Mark then draws a last pistol, also hidden in a potted plant, and finishes off his attacker. This astonishing sequence has become one of the most iconic in the history of action cinema, watched and rewatched by the countless fans. Yun-fat's trick of hiding guns in potted plants may have been inspired by Akira Kurosawa's masterpiece Seven Samurai. In the film, Toshiro Mifune's character drives multiple swords into the ground before a battle. This was based on historical realism. After cutting down several enemies, a sword becomes sticky with fat and blood and loses its effectiveness, requiring a replacement. Similarly, Mac's multiple hidden guns suggest a practical and premeditated approach to combat. Action movie fans were stunned by this scene. The sequel, A Better Tomorrow 2, was released the following year, largely because the original was such a massive hit. The action scenes in the sequel are also impressive. However, some viewers may find the sequel somewhat disjointed. The storyline is unclear and the audio quality is notably poor. Dialogue and music are muffled, making it hard to believe this was a professionally produced film. During the production, there were creative conflicts between director John Woo and producer Tsui Hark. Woo wanted the film to run 2 hours and 40 minutes, but Tsui Hark refused, and the final cut was limited to 104 minutes. This conflict may have contributed to the film's inconsistent storytelling and technical shortcomings. Their working relationship ultimately broke down. Tsui Hark went on to produce the third film in the series, A Better Tomorrow 3, Love and Death in Saigon, while John Woo directed The Killer. Although Tsui Hark's name appears as a producer in The Killer, the two have not collaborated on any films since. Released in 1989, The Killer became a landmark film that redefined the action genre. In the opening scene, the protagonist, Jung, a human played by Cho Yun-fat, kills his target along with all nearby enemies. He shoots an enemy standing in the doorway, then uses the man's body as a cushion to fall into the room, where he guns down two bodyguards hiding on either side of the door with his dual pistols. This scene too makes brilliant use of alternating slow motion and real-time footage, powerfully affecting the viewer on an emotional and visual level. There is a scene in Quentin Tarantino's Django that is very similar to one in The Killer. During a gunfight with the enemy, Jung accidentally blinds the heroine, Jenny, played by Sadie Ye. This event marks the beginning of the protagonist's journey of redemption, and over time, a romance develops between the hero and heroine. In order to raise money for Jenny's eye surgery, the hero accepts an assassination job. However, after completing the mission, he is betrayed by his employer and his life is put in danger. It is said that betrayals like this happen in real life. Employers kill assassins to keep secrets and avoid paying the promised reward. Detective Lee Ying, played by Daniel Lee, initially tries to redeem Jung by arresting him. But that won't help Jenny regain her eyesight. This puts them at odds, yet as the story progresses, a deep sense of mutual respect and friendship begins to grow between them. Fan Sei, played by Chu Kong, is Jung's longtime best friend. Though he betrays him once and even attempts to kill him, he later has a change of heart. He grabs money from his employer in an effort to help Jung and deliver the funds to him. Their stories build toward a climatic and intense gunfight with the mafia. The film combines poetic, emotionally charged action with character-driven drama. The choreography is both beautiful and primal, stirring deep instincts in the audience. One of the defining features of John Woo's action style is his extensive use of slow motion. But it's not just about creating beautiful imagery or stylish action. Slow motion serves a deeper purpose. It helps relieve the audience's tension, creating a powerful rhythm of build-up and release. This may sound abstract, but all entertainment relies on the interplay between tension and relaxation to bring the audience into a trance-like emotional state. The principle applies across art forms. In music, for example, it's a contrast between high and low notes or major and minor chords. By skillfully combining opposites, creators guide the audience through emotional peaks and valleys. The same is true for comedy and suspense. Laughter and tension are two sides of the same coin. To make people laugh, you must first create tension. To create tension, you must first make them laugh or feel at ease. Laughter and suspense are two sides of the same coin. To make someone laugh, you first create tension. Conversely, if you want to create tension, you begin by making the audience laugh or feel relieved. Steven Spielberg's works are a good example of this technique. In Jurassic Park, one of the main characters, a woman, feels relieved when a friend's hand suddenly touches her shoulder while she's fleeing from a dinosaur. However, it turns out to be the severed arm of her comrade, held in the dinosaur's mouth. The blending of comedy and fear to create a trance-like experience is not unique to Jurassic Park. It's a hallmark of all Spielberg films. Even in action movies, both tension and relief are essential. Repeating the same kind of stimulation bores the audience. That's why variation is necessary. John Woo skillfully uses slow motion to introduce contrast in action scenes. Of course, slow motion existed in films before him, but no one used it as masterfully to lead the audience into a trance-like state. This is the revolutionary aspect of The Killer. Blood splattered, shards of glass, and various props float through the air in slow motion. As viewers watch these beautiful images, their minds calm down. And because of the slowed footage, they can clearly see what is happening. This contrast, relaxation amid tension, induces a trance. The ultimate technique has been imitated countless times in later action films. Any action movie fan will recognize this influence. The style of action cinema fundamentally changed before and after The Killer. That is the revolution the film brought about. The Killer can also be said to be the work that fully established John Woo's style. It was the first of his films to feature a dove, a symbol of peace, fleeing amid scenes of violence. These images are not only poetic, they also reflect Woo's anti-violence philosophy. There is also a strong Christian motif. Both the opening and the climax of The Killer are set in a church. A church also appears in Face Off. In The Killer, the protagonist receives an assassination order in a place where he prays to God. He blinds a woman and then embarks on a journey of redemption. Though he tries to escape from the criminal underworld, he ends up confronting it in a final battle. Back in the same church, the shattering of the statue of Mary is a particularly shocking moment. This doesn't mean John Woo is disrespectful toward Christianity. Woo himself is a Christian. He uses Christian imagery as a stark contrast to violence, emphasizing its tragedy. These motifs serve the same symbolic function as the dove. Slow motion isn't the only method Woo uses to contrast with violent motion. There are also characters who remain almost completely still on screen. For example, Frank Chen, played by Ricky E. Fan Wei, is the leader of an assassin group. Two standard shots feature him standing motionless as his henchmen charge forward from behind. These compositions beautifully express the dynamic of stillness versus motion. The most important thing for the protagonist is to make amends to Jenny. He asks Detective Lee to transplant his cornea to her if he dies in a gunfight. In the end, however, he goes blind during the final shootout and dies from excessive bleeding. The film closes with Jenny losing her sight. Many viewers found this hopeless ending difficult to accept. However, in the original script, Jenny was supposed to receive the money and board a plane to America. In other words, her eyesight would have been restored. The protagonist supposedly dies but does not go blind and is supposed to achieve atonement by donating his corneas. The script was rewritten because Sally Ye, who played Jenny, was extremely busy and didn't have time to film the airport scene. In other words, if Sally Ye's schedule had allowed, the movie's plot might have turned out very differently. Movies don't always go according to a creator's plan. Sometimes an unexpected element can transform a work into something completely new. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked this video, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up.